is. All right. Next up, we have the guys that have won they're getting two awards tonight, the Jack Lemmon Ambassador of Golf Award, and they're also getting the NCGA Distinguished Service Award, and we're not going to have these guys up twice. They're lawyers, and we only have the room tonight. So we're going to, thank you, sir. So we're going to get this out of the way, and how appropriate, since they're winning the Jack Lemmon Ambassador of Golf Award, two guys are going to come up and present this that have won this award. They are, without question, and I mean this, and I'm going to get hammered here, two of the wackiest people that you will run into. Fortunately for us, they are part of the greatest broadcast team in Major League Baseball. They along with John Miller and Dave Fleming, they are absolutely the best. There's nothing else to say here. Crook and Kipe right here.
No. All right. How about a really nice round of applause for my partner who has the nerve and the strength to wear what he's wearing tonight? Seriously. That's what I really like about the guy. It's all about confidence. We are going to hand out a couple of awards. A couple of things I want to mention. No Clint tonight. We do have the empty chair. Which Mitch's rear end will end up in that chair, I'm sure. I want to introduce a guy that we see almost every day at our ballpark, at AT&T Park. He's in charge of all the tickets, all of them. And he is a pioneer, really, in this business, and that's Russ Stanley. Russ is over here. Russ? Yeah. Russ really doesn't like to get introduced for obvious reasons. Mitch mentioned that Art Spander is here. He told this glorified story about Art being honored at the Rose Bowl. Whatever, 65 straight Rose Bowls. So, seriously, what's the big deal? Free tickets, free food, free parking. Wow, Art, good job. Really good job. And with Ron Krojcek here, he will be the new Art Spander in about 10 years. I don't know if Roger Malpe is here. We were told that he was, and he's a great guy. Mike knows him a lot better than I do. He went to San Jose State. San Jose State, very proud table right here. Problem is that San Jose State really doesn't recognize Roger. But we have to remember that Roger did win the Ed McMahon JC's Quad Cities Nobody Gives a Shit Open in 1975. Tom Spencer is here. Tom is going to get an award tonight. Tom is a former intern at KMBR. And the award that he's going to get tonight is the former KMBR Intern Award. It's a really great award. Chuck Dunbar is here. We took a lot of opinions from all the people that work for Chuck at Pebble Beach in the clubhouse area. He dyes his hair. He does. Mike Schumann. I love Mike. Mike Schumann and Woody Allen, best pair of hands in the 70s. Ouch. Mike, Ouch. We are here to honor two gentlemen, Richard Harris and Bo Links. I can't get over the whole Bo Links name. I can't. Maybe you win the award by just having a name like Bo Links. But if you do a little research, and you can do it really easily now by going to the internet, you can find out everything you could possibly want about the name Bo. Remember, there are more dogs named Bo than people. We do have some famous Bos, right? Bo Jackson, Bo Derek, Bo Diddley, Bo Schemblecker, Bo Peep. And maybe the best one that really kind of correlates with our winner Bo Links is Bozo. If you look on the internet about the name Bo, the Danish meaning is commanding. The American meaning is commanding. Pretty good. The French meaning is highly respected, beautiful, and handsome. The Scandinavian meaning is Bo is really a woman. People with this name have a really deep inner desire to have your name changed. Now, the other recipient, Richard, it's not a great name either. It really isn't. If you Google famous Richards, number one is Richard Nixon. Right, he's a president, right? Okay, that's good. Number two is Richard Gere. Not that far off from either of these two is Richard Simmons. And remember that most Richards would rather be called a dick. By the way, we're going to start spring training really soon. And after the 49ers lost to the Seahawks in the Super Bowl and all that other stuff, we are really looking forward to baseball. We are expecting a lot of really terrific things from the Giants. It's an even year. They've done some great things in even years. And this event is really part of the stepping stone to us getting to spring training. So I'm going to let my partner handle the rest of this, and let's play ball. Mike?
And you wonder why I dress like this. Seriously. In our life, being with the San Francisco Giants, when I first got here in 1983, I think we lost 94 games, and it was 96. And then 1985, we lost 100 games. In 1985, 100 games. No Giant team had ever done that. No Giant team has ever done it since. We were on the only team that had Giants across the chest that lost 100 games. The following spring, we go to camp, and we had like 9 rookies in camp, and we didn't really make any big changes, and I'm thinking this is going to be another rough year. So you get to camp, and you say hello to everybody, and it was like 5 or 6 or 7 or 8 days before you actually play a game. Now, I'm pitching the first game. Now, those first 8 days, all the conversation had been about this first-round pick that we had in 1985, Will Clark. So we were curious to see this guy. He played a half a year at A-ball in San Jose and did quite well. So we're curious. We needed hitting. We could not hit. So we're kind of half hoping this guy, was what everybody thought he was going to be, but we didn't have any idea what we were getting into. So my first start was against the Milwaukee Brewers, and you know, your first start can be ugly. You're not really into it. You're not ready. You have no rhythm. Your elbow hurts. It's just, it's not much fun. And you go out there and you throw 2 innings, 30 pitches, whatever comes first. I mean, you could get no outs, throw 30 pitches, and you're gone. So I go out there, and Will Clark's playing first base. And first guy up, whack, knock, runner at first. I'm in my stretch, ball 4, runners at first and second, nobody out. Next guy up, whack, base hit, bases loaded. So I get the ball, nobody out. I'm in my stretch, elbow's killing me. And all of a sudden I hear this little voice go, time out! And I look over at first base, and here comes Will Clark trotting out to the mound. And I'm thinking, I'm a 10-year vet. What is this kid going to tell me? And he walks up to me and he goes, hey! If we're going to win this game, you're going to have to do a hell of a lot better than that. He was our game changer. The next 28 years of Giants history have been pretty good. It takes a guy sometimes to kick you into the next gear. The guys that we're honoring tonight, Bo Links and Richard Harris, are those type of guys. Because if you think about what they did with Sharp Park, think about Alistair McKenzie and the prestige that this gentleman has, for any of you who have played his courses, is renowned. And I'm not talking about the Valley Club or the Meadow Club. We're talking about the 2 gyms at Cypress, and we're talking about Augusta. But in order to play those courses, you either got to be a member or you got to be able to sit in the Art Spander chair. There are no exceptions. And yet here was this little golf course up on the coast of Northern California, Sharp Park, that Alistair McKenzie had designed. This was the opportunity for every man. You didn't have to be a club member. All you had to do was get in line and get yourself a starting time, and you could play this course. This was their Cypress. This was that man's Augusta. The guy that at times is playing in tank tops and baggy shorts, and he's using balls that he stole next to the driving range. The guy that gets excited when he knocks the 50-footer in when he's lying 8. You have to have this. And the fact that these 2 guys had the courage to take on the elements when it was stacked up against them and save this thing, I think is quite remarkable. They are game changers, and we will honor them tonight. So please pay attention to the video that honors these 2 gentlemen who will receive these awards tonight.
It's both ironic and appropriate that Richard Harris and Bo Links first crossed paths on the golf course, although they did not actually meet on that day in the mid-60s. Harris was playing for the Stanford University golf team, and Links was in Palo Alto with his Washington High School teammates to play the Stanford freshmen. Not until years later did the 2 San Franciscans formally connect, sharing a common bond as successful attorneys, as well as their deep roots in golf. Their passion for the game evolved into advocacy in 2007 to oppose campaigns by anti-golf activists to convert Sharp Park Golf Course to a nature preserve and Lincoln Park Golf Course into soccer fields and an event center. Harris and Links refused to let that happen, at least not without a fight. They formed the San Francisco Public Golf Alliance and together became the driving force behind the grassroots crusade that so far has saved the municipal courses from closure. The Alliance now has more than 6,000 members, and together, Harris and Links have become synonymous with the battle cry that has been heard around the world of golf: Save Sharp Park. As ambassadors of the movement, Harris and Links spoke at public meetings as well as to a variety of service clubs and organizations. They wrote countless letters as well as magazine pieces, which was second nature to them since Harris is a former news journalist and Links is a successful author of golf books. Shining examples of devoted caretakers of the game, the tireless campaign of the San Francisco Public Golf Alliance continues as Harris and Links pursue the financial and political support necessary to complete their primary mission, an environmentally sensitive restoration of Sharp Park Golf Course so that the magic created by Alistair McKenzie there will live on for future generations. Tonight, please join the California Golf Writers and Broadcasters Association and the NCGA in honoring our recipients of 2 awards, the Jack Lemmon Ambassador of Golf Award and the NCGA Distinguished Service Award. Richard Harris and Bo Links.
Thanks very much, folks, for this honor. I'm Richard Harris. I will tell Kipe that he did overlook Richard III. And I want to tell you a bit about Alistair McKenzie. At the end of his life, he wrote a remarkable book called The Spirit of St. Andrews, and the word spirit is key. He writes that he gave up his medical practice because he believed that golf was the greatest game, with a power not only to improve individual health and lives, but to also the welfare of communities and even nations. And he believed that his landscape architecture could channel that power. In other words, he was building golf shrines. And this is what Sandy Tatum referred to when he called Cypress Point the Sistine Chapel of Golf. Another one of those shrines is at Sharp Park, 100 miles up the road, where in 1932, Mackenzie built a municipal course for the city of San Francisco, one of the rare places where the public can experience the magic that this man could create. So in 2007, when activists attacked golf in San Francisco and tried to close Sharp Park and Lincoln Park, Bo and I formed the Public Golf Alliance with our friend Tom Shea, who is with us tonight. And we enlisted the great diversity of golfers to fight for their sport. And we turned out men and women across all cultures, across all income strata, and they showed up. And after 6 years, the battles are not over, but the courses are still open, and we are fundraising to restore them. There may be a broader lesson here. California is now in a time of limited public resources. We face drought. There will be calls to cut off the water to the golf courses or to levy luxury taxes, not just on the public courses, but on all the courses. If our foes can convince the politicians, as they have been trying in San Francisco, that golf is limited to elites, then golf will lose the political fights over land and water and taxes. So public golf and engaged golfers are critical to the entire game. The late Ken Venturi said it best: without the public courses, golf becomes inaccessible, he said. The game shrivels and dies. Now, we cannot let that happen. We thank the many friends here who have helped us, the Northern and Southern California Golf Associations, the Golf Writers, the California Golf Alliance, Alliance for Golf. We thank Nick Zwick and the Alistair McKenzie Foundation. And special thanks to Morrison Forster, whose lawyers are defending Sharp Park in a 3-year federal court lawsuit. Public golf and Sharp Park are worth the fight, and we need your help, and thank you very much.
"84 years ago, when Alistair McKenzie revealed his plan for Sharp Park, the golf writers called it the second St. Andrews. They hailed it as the greatest municipal course in America. It is the rarest of rarities. It's Alistair McKenzie's only public golf course in the world built by the sea. And I will tell you, my friends, on that land, he poured every ounce of his genius into the project. If you look at the maps that he created and published, and we've captured them in a new book on the golf course, you'll see it all there. The multiple tees, the double fairways, the heaving greens, the cloud-shaped bunkers, the strategic options, and Mackenzie's favorite feature, the use of camouflage. And for nearly a century now, that golf course has been open to all for a very modest greens fee. If you haven't been there, go, play it. Let the salt air kiss your cheek and feel the magic that invades that property, and everybody who goes there knows it, and every visitor for a first time feels it. It's unforgettable. And the notion that a gang of misguided so-called environmentalists want to bulldoze it is unthinkable, but that's what they want to do, and that's why we fight. And I'll tell you something. So far, we've won every battle, and we've done it by teaching two essential lessons. One, golfers are environmentalists too. And secondly, for all the talk about habitat for the frog and the snake, Alister MacKenzie created that habitat when he created Sharp Park. And we couldn't have gotten as far as we have without the unbending support of the NCGA, the SCGA, and the USGA. And as Richard mentioned, we've also had an incredible partner in the Alister MacKenzie Foundation, which Nick Zwick has created. They've been with us every step of the way, and they're now poised to raise the funds to complete this work. But we've still got a ways to go. We've got to win in the Court of Appeal. We've got to get an agreement through the San Francisco Board of Supervisors to turn over management to San Mateo County so they can be the lead agency to get the environmental clearances for restoration. And we're going to need to raise an awful lot of money to do all that. And we need your help. Yeah, we need contributions. Those are good. But I'll tell you what we need that's just as important. We need your voice. Whether you're a citizen or a journalist, we need you to talk about Sharp Park. We need you to learn about Sharp Park. We need you to know about it, to let this story out into the world so people understand what is so important here and why this place is so special and why it's our duty to preserve it. And I'll make you a promise. If you join the cause, you get a bonus. You get to tell your children and your grandchildren that when the challenge came, you didn't stay on the sidelines. You rose up, you stood up, and you spoke up for the game you love and a place that represents all that is good about that game. And I ask you not just to join us. Stay with us until the job is done. Thank you. God bless you.
Yeah, you guys, this is for the NCGA as well. Can you handle it? Yeah, here you go. Here you go. Here you go. Yeah, these are not connected. Here's the next one right here. There you go. Can you do that? Got it? All right. Richard Harris and Bo Links, right there.
Very nice, Mitch. Thank you very much. Nice job tonight. And yeah, I appreciate the some of the comments from a lot of my friends out here that had heard about the hip surgery. And you probably think that's why I brought the cane tonight. But actually, I could actually walk pretty good without it, you know, after 12 days. And why I brought it is if any of the speakers or presenters get a little long in the tooth, we can give it the hook here. Because we know that Traps down the hall here needs their business. Steve Desimone couldn't make it tonight, so we've all got to make up for what Steve might have spent there. This is particularly great for me to be part of this with the NCGA and their new Hall of Fame, which they started a couple years ago, and they asked me to do a fireside chat. We started with the Pebble Beach Corporation. We had a great group up here. We had Peter Uberoff and Dick Ferris from United Airlines, now Pebble Beach Company, and Clint Eastwood. And then last year, the Hall of Fame inducted Johnny Miller, Kate Cockrell, and Roger Malpe. And all I had to do was get started with a couple of questions, and they all went at it, and that was fabulous. So tonight we're going to do it a little bit differently. We've got some videos of the inductees, but I just wanted to comment that I've had a great opportunity in golf over the years, and I think that hearing Conrad talk about the luggage, and I played in New Mexico, the Tucker tournament, and we rode in a station wagon from Ogden, Utah down there. You guys probably were in somebody's private jet, and so a little bit different. You ever been to Moab, Utah? We had to overnight there just to get you the picture of that. It's a mining town. And but college golf and NCGA golf for me have been some of my most wonderful experiences. I had an opportunity to play on cup teams for the NCGA or against the NCGA as a golf professional now over 40 years. So really a great opportunity. And I wanted to clean up a couple things that weren't mentioned tonight. One of my funny years, the two ball for the NCGA is a big deal. It's played at Spyglass, and one of the big perks is if you make the top 10, you're exempt the next year. And that's a big deal because you don't have to go to qualifying. So my partner and I qualify, we make the top 10, and we're going to play the next year. Well, I decided to turn pro a second time. And Tom Culligan still speaks to me as I left him on the doorstep, as he was my partner that year that we finished, I think, 7th or 8th. And I think he had to play with Marshall Gleason the next year. So I apologize, Tom. Yeah, it could have been Gary Vanier. A couple other folks that need to be introduced tonight. A woman that's done a lot for golf in a variety of ways, and again, similar to Culligan being behind the scenes, was just named the general chair of the 2016 Women's Open at Coeur d'Alene. Carol Kaufman is here. Very nice. And again, the NCGA has had such a wonderful history, and I go back to the guys like Bob Hanna and Hy Hennings and Ron Reed. I'm not sure if Ron's here tonight, but these are all wonderful people that were sort of like our uncles and grandpas when we were on the road, and they kind of kept us in tune, if you know what I mean, and made sure that we got home to our moms and dads or wives and that type of thing. But I want to introduce a few of the NCGA folks that are here. There's been some turnover the last couple of years, and there's been some really key people that have stepped up. A fellow that's a past president, he became interim executive director, and now he's the permanent executive director. Vaughn Kazarian is here tonight. Nice job, Vaughn, stepping up. In restructuring that position, and with the new Poppy Hills going to open in April, I'll mention a little more of that in a moment. We have a new general manager of Poppy Hills and the Poppy Holding, and that is Brad Shoup from Southern California. There's Brad right here, right, very nice. The new president is Brian Morris. Is Brian here tonight? Here we go, Brian's here. The chairman of Poppy Holding, Daryl Biddy. Daryl here? There's Daryl, very nice. And the NCGA Foundation that does a great job with the Youth on Course and other activities. Adam Hike is their executive director. I believe he's here. Very nice, Adam's here. And their president for this coming year, or this year, Bill Hammond is here. Somewhere. Very nice. All right, let's get on to, last thought on the NCGA for a minute. Poppy Hills is going to open the first week of April. And the Robert Trent Jones Company was the leaders in getting this, the renovation of the golf course done. And Robert Trent Jones Jr. is here tonight. Bob, thanks very much. And your group is, every time I hear a story about what's going on, they give you great kudos, and great Northern California, and great to have you here. Also in April is a new event that's going to be held at Lake Merced, an LPGA event, which I think is very appropriate for Northern California to have at least a couple of them. We've got so many great players. Pat Hurst was mentioned earlier that's here. Pat, thanks so much for being here. My old friend Patty Sheehan lives up in Reno. It was just a real quick story. I used to go up to the All-Teen Invitational in Reno, one of the great junior tournaments of all time. And my friend Phil Berry and I went up, and they said, there was a true country club, all the houses around the golf course at Hidden Valley in Reno. And they said, oh, you two boys, there's two young men that are your age, so we'll put you at their house, and Steve and Butch. And they have this little 7-year-old sister. Don't worry, she'll stay out of your way. Well, that was Patty Sheehan's house, and we stayed with them for about 5 or 6 years, and Steve and Butch Sheehan are still friends of mine, 50 years later. So great history. And then certainly Julie Inkster involved, and she was at the media day this week. And Donna Lowe, the general manager, is here with her team. And if you don't think San Francisco's got great spirit, this is going to be called the Swinging Skirts LPGA event. And let's watch a little video that's going to tell us about the Swinging Skirt. Job over the years of being a great citizen in the golf community. They've hosted many qualifyings for USGA events. The NCGA Junior used to be played there many years ago, and just a couple of years ago they hosted the U.S. Junior Girls Championship. So look for great things out of that event. Okay, tonight we're going to honor 4 coaches that in college golf that have all won NCAA Division I titles, and we're so fortunate to have such a great tradition and history of golf in Northern California. It's only appropriate to have teams like this that would represent it, and we have so many great golf courses that these teams get to play. This first guy, Mitch and I started something, I think it was almost 20 years ago with the radio show on Big Game Saturday when they have the Cal-Stanford game. We started a deal where we would get on the 2 coaches from the boys teams and the 2 women's teams, and we would get them on the radio for the whole hour, and we'd promote their programs. We'd get them trash talking a little bit. We get them picking the teams, who's going to win, what's the score. Mitch has been a great job of being the secretary of our organization, where he'll regurgitate the scores the next year, even though they took that locker away from us. Okay, we just don't know where it is, I guess. Oh, it's in your mind. Okay. Let's watch a video on one of the folks that has supported that effort of our Big Game Day. One of the really great guys, and he's had a wonderful record. And I think NCAA champion is.
When Steve Desimone began his coaching tenure at Cal, the men's golf had just lost its status as a varsity sport. 34 incredible years later, Desimone has built Cal into a college golf juggernaut. Desimone's latest team has pundits debating whether it was the best collegiate team ever assembled. Cal set a modern-era NCAA record with 12 victories in 14 stroke play events during 2012 and 13, and its players earned medalist honors an impressive 10 times. Even though Cal was upset in the semifinals of the NCAA Match Play Championship, both GolfStat and Golf Week voted the Golden Bears #1 after the season. Desimone led Cal to its first national championship in 2004 when it rallied from 8 strokes down on the final day to top UCLA by 6. Desimone was named Golf Week's Coach of the Year as well as the NCGA's Grand Master of the Year. Desimone was also named the 2013 National Men's Coach of the Year by the Golf Coaches Association of America and earned the Jack Lemmon Ambassador of Golf Award at this dinner last year. Desimone actually played basketball at Cal as an undergrad before serving in the military and taking over the men's golf team. He is also an avid supporter of the NCGA's Youth on Course program. Tonight, please welcome Steve Desimone as a member of the 2014 class of the NCGA Hall of Fame.
And let's welcome up to introduce Steve Desimone. Let's bring up Drew Sanders, one of his players, please. Drew? Come on up. And I also want to introduce one other person that's been very supportive of the Cal program. Frank Brunk is here, past director of the NCGA. Frank.
Thanks, John.
Yeah, you
Appreciate
got
it.
All right. Remember, I got this cane.
It's okay. Real quick. Coach, get up here. All right, that a boy. So the 3 B's of public speaking, right? Be bright, be brief, be gone, something like that. But so yesterday, Coach calls me and says, "Drew, I need you to come in and be a relief pitcher." Peter Tomasulo, who was the team captain for Steve in the 2004 team, just had a baby boy, Nicholas, on January 29th. which is pretty awesome. So obviously he's doing the right thing and he's with his family. And back in the day, in the early 90s, I was fortunate enough to play for Coach. And we had some fancy pants and some big, long collars. And but it's some interesting things that I think about with an individual sport. You have a lot of things that you've got a lot of different personalities. And when I was thinking about something for 35 years, which you've been coaching for 35 years, there's probably a culture, there's a way. And we hear a lot about that. In fact, with the baseball guys, the Oriole way is what they talked about. So a couple of seconds on the Cal Golf way. It's going to be hard for me to get through this because I love this guy so much. And it's the courage, it's the competition, and it's the compassion. And so the courage comes when you take a job when your boss doesn't want you to be there, which is 1979. And Dave Maggart, our buddy, says, Steve, sure you can have the job, I'm just not going to pay anything, and you got $2,500 budget, and Frank Brunk and you go raise $5,000, which is pretty good. But that basketball picture, this guy's a son of a gun, okay? If you play for this guy, he's going to grind you up. He's going to find out what's inside you, and then with a twinkle in his eye, he's going to see what you can become. And that's a great coach. So it took courage to win a national title when you've had one top 10 in 50 years. And CBS recorded that. I watched it. And if you were in that room, you knew what that guy was like. If you ever played for him, you knew that he was a son of a gun. He was going to take you on the basketball court, make threes all day long, and when he missed, he'd call his own fouls every time. And it was just amazing where we'd sit there, we'd hone it, but if it was just courage and competition, I don't think we'd be here. In fact, there was a pretty famous golf coach after they won the first time told a buddy of mine, that'll never happen again. That's not a real program. And you know, I smiled pretty big when I was sitting there watching Brandon Hagee and Max Homa, two players you should really look for, Brandon Hagee and Max Homa, who can just flat out play. And Michael Kim's not too bad himself, is he? Yeah. So if you're watching someone, go watch Max play. But if it was just the courage and the competition, I don't think we'd be here. And the final C for me, part of our culture, is compassion. And I think that's the thing. Last year we had Coach Ed Arnold pass away, and we had just had a birthday party for him. And we'd been there, and everybody in our Cal Golf family, we've been raising $5,000 to $250,000 a year for a long time. The budget went from $5,000 to $500,000 over 30 years. What came out of that hard work is that the Cal Golf community is crazy. We're everywhere. We show up for everything. 50 of us showed up to Atlanta. They lose. Max Homa, has 76 yards in on the 20th hole, and the whole family came around him. And that's part of the culture. And so 35 years later, I feel so fortunate to share with you that this is our family. We are Northern California Golf. This is a truly wonderful event to be at because we are this family. And Rich Harris and Bo Links, amen, that's exactly what we're about. We're a family. And for Cal Golf, as crazy as it seems, this guy right here has been our keeper of the culture. So I give you our culture keeper, Steve Desimone. You bet. All you.
Well, speaking of tough acts to follow, wow. Drew's got it right. Frank's out there, Mr. Brunk. Hard to believe all this started 35 years ago, and the video told the story beautifully. Interesting, Vaughn tonight, the executive director of the NCGA, you know him as that. I know him as Uncle Vaughn. We met 47 years ago, the first day of Cal Prep. I was in a coat and tie. He was coming out of bathroom. I was racing in. I was changing. Cal in the mid-60s, you could imagine. I was the only guy within 50 miles in a coat and tie. And Vaughn took one, looked at me as the bathroom door opened, and he said, you've got to be Armenian. And I said, no, you've got to be Assyrian. And for 47 years, we have been best of friends. We learned, Gloria, we learned to play at Chabot and at Tilden. And I say this with a smile to my great, great friend, Vaughn. Who would have ever thought, huh? Who would have ever thought? The video told basically what I would have said about our program, self-funded program. So many of the Cal people here tonight. My sister, last year I said she had her 39th birthday. I fudged a little bit tomorrow's 49. Carolyn, happy birthday. My lovely wife, Drew said that I've been coaching for 35 years at Cal. It's true, it's 43 years overall. It was something that was in me early on and something that will continue for probably as long as I live. In the end, and I look at Conrad, and I spoke to Wally earlier tonight. I know Wally will not be here, unfortunately. I really don't know Mark, but I'm sure that we're pretty much cut out of the same cloth. For us, it's about kids. It's about opportunities, and it's about working with young people. I mean, some of the older veterans, Mitch, are here. Charlie in the background, and by the way, Charlie and Bo, where are you? Somewhere Bud Brody is smiling. You know that. Somewhere he is smiling big time. It's about our young people. And you look at Noda, you look at Rob, you look at some of the Stanford guys that are here tonight that are a little younger. And Wally and I talked, we said, you know, Des, we wanted to beat our brains out, but the game of golf is such that our friendship carries over so much more than anything that we did over the years, and it's oh so true. We play the greatest game of all time, and we are so fortunate to be a part of it, and I know that that will continue for a long, long time. The last thing I really want to mention is I want to mention the NCGA, and I want to congratulate all the honorees tonight. What a great group. And yes, it was a very special night a year ago, being honored with the Jack Lemmon Award, and it's all as special tonight. And in all honesty, in some respects, it's more special. Drew mentioned Northern California. Look, I've been a NorCal kid all my life and went to Cal, and 35 years as the head coach at Cal. It couldn't have worked out any better. Excuse me. But I want to mention the NCGA. I really struggled with what I was going to say tonight. And the mail was delivered yesterday, and sitting there was the NCGA news. And I sat down and I read it for an hour. I went through it front to back. Ron Kreutzig's article. All of the different things that are in the NCGA news speak of an incredible organization that serves our game, that serves the game of golf. And I don't care whether it's course ratings or rules or what the NCGA does, all of the different programs, the junior programs. It's an amazing organization. Spend some time and go through that magazine, and it tells you a story about people that give to the game. And for me, I think many of you were here a year ago when I spoke about the Youth on Course program. First Tee was mentioned earlier. Conrad and I, Mark, Wally, the kids that come to us come through the golf courses that the NCGA works with, the programs, what the golf professionals do. And the idea that I'm going to be inducted into the NCGA Hall of Fame is as great an honor as I can ever imagine, and it is one I will carry for the rest of my life. And I congratulate all of the people that put the time in. Daryl Biddy, congratulations on what you're doing, my friend. It's great to see you. And if I'm going to say one last thing, and that is, find a way to help kids. The Youth on Course program is absolutely fabulous. Find a way. Our kids need help. If you're in this profession, you're an educator, you know what I'm talking about. Find a way to help. Other than that, all I can say is what I usually like to end it with, and that's a Go Bears.
I mentioned my alma mater, Weber State. They were the team that got beat the other night by that 80-foot basketball shot against Sacramento State. You see that? It was from the free throw line on the other end, and the announcer's basically saying the game's over, and swoosh, there it goes. But when I watch the big game or hear about the big game, I have a problem because my dad graduated from both Stanford and Stanford Medical School. My youngest brother is a physician, went to Cal, but he works in the old Stanford Medical School building. And my wife, Rose, who's here tonight, graduated from both Cal and then from Stanford with a medical degree. So I'm kind of mixed up. I should watch the game out on Treasure Island or something. So that's always been my deal. All right, San Jose State, great tradition, both men's and women's golf. Let's see a little video here on Mark Gale, longtime women's coach at San Jose State.
Do you know what women's college golf team was the first to win 3 national championships? Mark Gale's San Jose State Spartans. It almost didn't happen. After San Jose State won its first national championship in 1987, Gale retired. But that retirement lasted 1 day. Gale's team bounced back to win the national championship again in 1989 and captured its 3rd in 6 years in 1992. And then there are Gale's 4 runner-up finishes, including 3 straight from 1995 through 1997. Gale's Spartans also lost sudden death playoffs twice in 1991 and 1996. Gale coached at San Jose State for 19 dominant years and produced 2 World Golf Hall of Famers, Patty Sheehan and Julie Inkster. The 9-time Big West Coach of the Year actually came to San Jose State as chairman of the school's Aerospace Studies Department before helping out with the men's golf team. The retired colonel eventually became the women's coach, retiring as the winningest coach the sport had ever seen. Gale was inducted into the Women's Golf Coaches Association Hall of Fame in 1993. Tonight, please welcome Mark Gale as a member of the 2014 class of the NCGA Hall of Fame.
Pat Hurst, excuse me, former player and aforementioned tonight. Great Bay Area native.
Coach, you're the best. I guess this is the first time I ever told you to come with me. Usually he's the one who's telling us to go with him. But Coach, he attained the rank of colonel in the United States Air Force, flew 61 missions during the Vietnam War. And I have to say that, yeah, thanks, Coach, for doing that. You know, we always thought, you know, every day when we would have to go to practice, Coach would say, okay, I'll be at North Campus at 11:38. Leaving at 11:38, be down at South Campus in 10 minutes, and we're leaving South Campus at 11:48. We say 11:38, 11:48. Now I know why. Being in the Air Force, that's why it is the way it is. He was 19 seasons at San Jose State as a women's golf head coach. He did win 3 national championships in '87, '89, and '91. And I have to say, Coach has won all 3 championships with different players, not one repeat player, and that's pretty damn good. The Spartans established the NCAA Division I women's golf team record with 12 consecutive team victories covering the 1992 and 93 seasons. He was a national coach of the year in '89 and '92. He won 9 Big West Conference Coach of the Year honors. A little story about Coach, he was always really good at golf course management, and he would come out to every practice with us, and he would go out to the middle of the fair, or go out to the fairway, and we'd have to aim at him, or he'd put his hat down, we aim at the hat, and then he'd move on to the next, to the green. And after one tournament, he was looking at our stats, which he was doing stats 25 years ago, which was pretty impressive because I don't think any other golf team at that time was doing stats like he was. But he was looking at our stats, and he saw that we were in a lot of bunkers that tournament. And as we were driving to the golf course that day, he says, girls, we've got, all the troubles in front of the greens. There's bunkers, there's usually water, bunkers, whatever. But we got to learn to get the ball to the hole. So as Coach went up there, we aim at him. He goes up to the green, and of course, all three of us in that one group hit it short of the hole. So we did that for a couple of holes, and next thing you know, we see him put something in the hole. So as we walk up there, and we looked in the hole, and there was this note, and it had GTB TTH. And if we had texting back then, we probably would have figured it out. But as we're walking up to the next tee, what does that mean? Get the ball to the hole. So 3 more holes go by. Guess what we're doing? We keep leaving it short, keep leaving it short. Another note in the hole. GTB TT FH. We can all figure out what he was trying to tell us. Coach, congratulations.
Hey, Pat, where's my teleprompter? Oh, I have it right. I've got a hook here. Don't worry. Now you know why I love coaching those 19 years. It's being around women like Pat Hurst. And, of course, women like Pat Hurst, those women were winning 92 tournaments along the way, too. So this evening is a very special evening. And I thank the Northern California Golf Association, excuse me for my throat, for honoring us 4 coaches. And I'm glad we don't have a teleprompter. And excuse me. If I could take this out, I'd like to just stand. Good. There we go. Thank you. This honor to me was an honor that I accept for San Jose State University and for 3 extra special golf teams. Of course, it was a team effort, and a major portion of that team was my wife of 59 years. She's here tonight with 3 of my sons and a daughter-in-law, giving their dad some family support. And speaking of support, this large group we have down from San Jose State University, a couple of my golf buddies, my weekly golf buddies, and the rest of you, I thank you very much. It's really quite comforting. Yeah. John. We had a player, a coach at San Jose State, quite famous, Walt McPherson, noted for his basketball, but he also coached the men's golf team during the Ken Venturi days. And he used to tell his players when they came off of a round, they tried to tell him shot by shot how it's going. He said, don't tell me how, just tell me how many. So tonight, I'd like to tell a couple of those hows that's been lingering in my mind all these years. First, people would ask, Mark, how in the world did you get all of those good players to come to San Jose State? Well, first, recruit 2 people named Patty Sheehan and Julie Inkster. You know their records and their Hall of Fame careers, and so do all of these women around the world. And in phone conversations to Australia and Sweden and Scotland and such, the question came up, just where is San Jose? And I say, we're halfway between San Francisco and Pebble Beach, and that's where we play our golf. And shortly afterwards, we had a signed, sealed scholarship contract. It was 1987. our honor student and captain, Dana, summa cum laude, Dorman, had her NC2A lead, or had her team leading the NC2A by 3 shots. And our last player was coming down the fairway, Ann Jones from Australia. And just then, the Arizona State coach came in and said, Mark, can I have the honor to walk down this final hole with the winning coach? And just then, a ball came sailing in, kicked off of her leg into an unplayable lie. And even with the penalty drop, it left no easy shot to the green for Ann. And it went over the green, and she's lying 4 in a par 5 hole. Dottie Pepper, playing for Furman, she was on the green with a short birdie putt. But Ann made a fabulous up and in, curling in a slick 20-footer, and assuring the team win, even if Dottie made her putt, which she did. But San Jose State then won their first women's NC2A national championship. 2 years later, it was Pat Hurst coming down the final hole at Stanford Golf Course. But this time, the team was behind 3 shots starting that last hole. And Pat, in the middle of the fairway, looked over to me and said, Coach, how we doing? I said, we're doing better now. Her 2 teammates, Denise Philbrick and Dina Makapani, had just made birdies. Well, go for it, she did. Landing just to the right of the green of this par 5 hole in 2, calmly chipped onto the green and rolled in a 4-foot birdie putt. And that gave Pat the NC2A national title, and San Jose State won their 2nd national championship. And then in 1992, with a completely different 5-player team, it was Lisa Walton, the girl we recruited from London, coming down the final hole. And again, we were leading by 3 shots. And then everything just seemed to be going our way that time, making up for the previous year when this San Jose State lost this championship in an extra hole playoff. And I guess the only challenge left was clearing this lake that protected the front 1/2 side of the green. And then, oh no, lo and behold, not in the water for us. Oh, I'm just kidding. It really was one of my bad dreams that we're having. Actually, Lisa easily cleared the water, made a routine par, and San Jose State had won their 3rd national championship. And that was one fun tournament. And tonight has been one fun night. So I thank the National Golf Coaches Association and NCAA. What the heck are we anyway?
California Golf Association.
NCGA. Northern California Golf Association. I knew that. I'm sure glad I paid my dues for this year. And I thank all of you. I thank all of you for making this nice. Thank you.
Very nice. Here we go. Let's take that. See, I don't know where they want a photo of you, but here we go. We're going to give you that. This isn't connected. Have your son. Can you come up and get that water for him? I think Mark's going to get his handicap audited this year. So just when when you win that many championships, imagine all the awards that he's had to accept. So great stuff. Stanford Golf's had a great history. I remember back to Bud Finger as the coach, great guy. Went on to Wally Goodwin and the aforementioned Conrad Ray. Let's see a little video of Wally Goodwin being honored tonight, although he's not able to be here. Wally Goodwin.
Wally Goodwin once coached against Larry Bird. He also coached Tiger Woods. Before Goodwin guided the Stanford men's golf team to a national championship, he tried his hand coaching collegiate basketball. After a 3-year stint as an assistant at Stetson University in Florida, Goodwin was asked to breathe life into the golf team at Northwestern. Goodwin swooped in for 6 years and put Northwestern on the map. Goodwin led Northwestern to a second-place finish in the conference behind the fine play of Big Ten champion Jim Benepe, who became an All-American and won the PGA Tour Rookie of the Year award. But it's Goodwin's stretch at Stanford that has made him a Northern California golf immortal. Goodwin tenured at Stanford from 1987 to 2000, where he coached fellow honoree Conrad Ray, Casey Morton, Nota Begay, Joel Kreibel, and Tiger Woods. Goodwin's Stanford team won the national title in 1994, securing the first Cardinal championship in 39 years. The next year, Goodwin recruited the most decorated amateur ever to join his team, Tiger Woods. Stanford finished second in the nation in 1995 and fourth in 1996 during Woods' 2 years. Goodwin was a great player in his own right, winning the Wyoming State Amateur twice and playing on the PGA Tour in 1959. Locally, he was also the athletic director at Stevenson School here in Pebble Beach. Goodwin is also a member of the inaugural Wyoming State Golf Association Hall of Fame, as well as the Golf Coaches Association Hall of Fame. Wally's wife, Nancy, is also a 2-time Wyoming State Amateur champion. Tonight, please welcome Wally Goodwin as a member of the 2014 class of the NCGA Hall of Fame.
Double duty, you see him on Golf Channel. He was a member of the 1994 championship team and one of the very few to shoot 59 in competition. Nota Begay, please come up to introduce the announcement for Wally and accept for Wally. Very nice.
Good evening. It's great to be up here, getting a chance to see a lot of old friends and distinguished guests and recipients of these awards. Tom Spencer, great friend of mine. We played a lot of golf together, and he's partially responsible why I went into television. He actually beat me. You did beat me once, Tom. About a year later, I retired. But what a great night, and I've really enjoyed all of the remarks about the recipients. And Conrad, I think that you brought up a wonderful trip that we had over to the Topi Cup in Fukushima, Japan, and you failed to mention that Conrad and I had a wrestling match in the hotel room one night, and it was like wrestling a brown bear. And I still think he had his rain pants on during the match. And Coach Gale, I don't know, your team was actually on that trip as well, and the night that we all went to Tokyo and your girls missed curfew, it was because of us. So in case you were wondering after all these years. And I don't think you could have summed things up better than Coach Desimone. Coach, I think it's remarkable what you did with the program, and I think one of the most difficult things to do with any program, whether it's an initiative that you believe in, preservation of golf courses, protection of certain things, stuff that I believe in, is to build tradition. And I think that that's something that you should be extremely proud of with your program and with the types of recruits you're getting and the players that you're producing. I think is a tremendous reflection on who you are as a person and the type of confidence and belief that you've instilled in your players. So congratulations. And that's what Coach Goodwin did for us at Stanford. And he had this remarkable, almost eccentric way of evaluating talent. And the program took a big shift at Stanford when he brought on an RLS graduate, Christian Sevaier, a French transplant. And it was my first interaction with a truly French person. And he was a really weird dresser. He was pretty arrogant, but he was a hell of a player, and he was very truthful in telling you whether he liked or disliked certain things about you. That didn't mince words. And in this modern era of statistics and evaluation and all of the data that Tom is privy to, that I'm privy to now, that coaches and players now have so much access to through all the data collection methods they have in golf now, coaches are doing a lot of the recruiting and player evaluation through statistics, and that was not Wally Goodwin. Wally Goodwin went by gut instinct, and so he brought Christian on from Robert Louis Stevenson. He offered me a full scholarship to Stanford and never saw me hit a golf ball. And in this day and age, that wouldn't fly. You would be admitted to the hospital. But what Coach did come and visit us as we were playing. I played on our varsity basketball team in high school, and he came and watched us play in the state semifinals at the Pit in New Mexico. And we were the #1 ranked team in our division, which was 4A at the time. And he just saw me out there diving for loose balls, and we went on to win the state championship that year. And right after the game, he was meeting with my parents and getting to know them. He offered me my scholarship, which was probably one of the biggest accomplishments or signs of recognition that I ever received. And it really changed my life. I mean, I grew up public golf. I grew up on a public golf course and played with used clubs that we bought at the garage sale and wore women's shoes because they were the right size for me. And I worked my way up and worked hard and got a job at the public golf course and trade in exchange for playing privileges. And Coach was the one that kind of gave me that chance to go to a distinguished university. I didn't really know how great it was until about 10 years after I graduated, when I was considering looking for a job, and there was a lot of options for me. And another thing that Coach did was he also recruited a guy with 1.5 legs, and that was Casey Martin. And I don't think that there were a lot of schools that were looking at Casey because there was a big question mark surrounding whether he actually could walk the full 54 holes that we were required to walk in most tournaments, and the 72 holes that we were required to walk in during the national championship. So Coach really had a unique way of bringing people together. And when we were able to win that national championship in 1994, it was a remarkable experience because every single player chipped in at one point or the other. It wasn't just all of me, or if it wasn't all of Casey or Will. Every player's score counted at least 3 of the 4 days. And I managed to shoot 62 in the second round, and that kind of got us into contention. And then follow that up with some pretty substandard 73-73 the last 2 days. But Will Yanagasawa came and brought us home on the final day with a final round 64. And I think that really goes overlooked when people talk about that story. When people talk about our program, they talk about Tiger Woods, even though he made our team worse. If somebody got an iPhone, maybe they could send that to him. It would be a much better resolution than the one that he sent us. But, and that was the unique thing, and I think that's Coach Desimone, his team that managed to win the national championship, have all shared that unique experience, and it builds a camaraderie not just amongst the players that were on that team, but also just the players in general. It's a unique experience. It's an individual game, and I think that's one of the reasons why Tiger speaks so fondly of his 2 years at Stanford, because that was the one instance in his life where he was able to be part of a team. And for those of us that have been fortunate enough to play on the PGA Tour and have success on the PGA Tour, it's a very lonely road. And we all look back on our college days and being able to share those times with our teammates and stay in touch with each other when we see each other as we get further and further and have kids and families and our lives take whatever paths they take. We really cherish those moments. And one of the best experiences that I ever had was at the President's Cup, and it was also one of the funniest experiences. But it was the very first day, and I was paired with Tiger, and our first match was against Vijay Singh and Ernie Els. And I'm walking to the tee, and there's just thousands of people lining the walkway to the first tee. And I turned back and up and walking about 100 yards up to the first tee, and I was by myself. Tiger had already gone up there, and I see President Bill Clinton was standing there, and then President H.W. Bush, Tiger Woods, Vijay Singh, and everybody else. I'm going, what the hell am I doing here? And my life flashed back to hitting balls at Ladera Golf Course on the west side of Albuquerque and public golf, and playing so much of my junior golf and public facilities, and how important that was to me. But also what Coach Goodwin and the influence that he had, and how proud he must have been to be able to watch two of his former players represent our country and be together. I mean, Tiger and I managed to win that match 6-5. And it wasn't because we were better than they were. It was because we had better chemistry, and we had a history, and we had a friendship. And those are the things that Coach Goodwin was adamant about. He was so much about fostering camaraderie, and he always had a smile on his face. I mean, those of you who have had the chance to interact with him, you always see, hey, boy, how you doing? And he had great memory. He could tell you about your dog or your cat or your sister or your friend, even if he had met you 3-4 years prior. And I think that was a special gift of his, and he really never had many negative moments. And I think that was a big part of his ability to sort of get our team to gel. And that was something that I didn't really appreciate at the time, but he let us be who we were. And our practices weren't all that structured, and he really never gave us any clear messages when we went out on the course. And half the time, he would sit in the clubhouse and read the newspaper while we were out playing. And it got to the point that's how we preferred it, because I remember in one big tournament, I believe it was at the regional tournament, there was water left. And regionals are much harder than finals, because you're trying to hit a number and you're trying to beat the last team to qualify. It's not so much about winning, it's just about not losing that last qualifying spot. So we're coming down to the last 3 or 4 holes, and we've got a par 3, and Coach goes up to our players and he goes, boy, whatever you do, don't give it one of these. You know, most of the coaches are up there trying to get some positive swing thoughts. Hey, stay focused. Focus on your target, see your line, visualize what you're trying to do. But he's over there saying, don't hit it in the water. Come over the top. And that was Wally. And so I had a great chat with him this afternoon. He was very, very disappointed that he wasn't going to be here. He was going to uncork some champagne and kind of toast the moment. And I think he's very much deserving of this recognition. I know that he would be very proud to be up here, and would certainly thank all of you from the bottom of his heart. So here's to you, Wally, wherever you are in cowboy land somewhere.
Let's at least you touch it here. So we've got to through some photos and stuff. So we'll get it to him. Thank you. Very nice, Noda. Very good. We're getting along. We've only got 7 awards to go. I'm just kidding. Just kidding. We've talked about him tonight. We've talked about his university, all those exotic trips. You know, at Weber State, I keep bringing up Weber State. Anybody ever been to Pocatello? Not many. How about Moscow, Idaho? Moscow? How about when it's blowing 40 miles an hour in Moscow and they say, you got to play 2 rounds today, conference championship. So that's how our exotic rounds were, guys. So not like Tokyo or the private jet down there. Conrad Ray is a relative newcomer, but let's hear a little video here and watch a little video about our next award winner, Conrad Ray from Stanford University.
In 1994, Conrad Ray helped Stanford win a national championship as a player. In 2007, Ray coached his alma mater to the 8th men's golf national championship in Stanford history. In just 9 seasons, Ray has led Stanford to one of its most impressive runs in golf. Under Ray's watch, Stanford has reached nationals 6 times and produced 16 All-Americans, including a school record 5 on the championship team in 2007. Ray's team nearly won back-to-back national titles in 2008, but his Cardinal fell one stroke shy of repeating. Ray won the Dave Williams Eaton Golf Pride National Coach of the Year award after the 2007 season. He was also selected as one of the 3 coaches for the U.S. team at the 2008 Palmer Cup. Ray joined Stanford as its coach in 2004 after a playing career on the nationwide tour. Ray was the captain of the 1997 team before turning pro, and Ray is also the 2nd vice president of the Golf Coaches Association of America. Tonight, please welcome Conrad Ray as a member of the 2014 class of the NCGA Hall of Fame.
For Conrad Ray, Zach Miller. I've been handing Zach trophies since he was 10 years old at the San Francisco City Junior. Known Zach a long time. Come on up, Zach.
I remember meeting John when I was 10, so I'm almost 30, so time flies, right, John? Anyway, you know, Conrad came to Stanford in 2004, and he took over a team that that came in dead last at the Pac-10 championships in 2003, and the team was awful. The team was awful. The team was so awful that the coach got fired, and Conrad became the coach. Anyway, Conrad, you were handed the reins of a team with a rich tradition of winning, but the team wasn't keeping up their end of the bargain. So let's fast forward to 2007, Conrad's 3rd year and my senior year. The team finished number 1 in the country. 3 years previously, we were 10th in the Pac-10. Now we're 1st in the country. The team won 7 times that year, and obviously the national championship. This was Conrad's 2nd national championship. He had won as a player in 1994, and now as a coach 13 years later at his alma mater. He was later named the NCAA coach later that year. Stanford Golf is very lucky to have Conrad, and speaking on behalf of all the players Conrad has coached, we thank you for bringing out the best in us. Congratulations.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. I have to admit that was the most nervous part of the night for me, giving Zach Miller the mic. You never quite know what's going to happen, and the guys at the table with me know what I'm talking about. But Zach, thanks for being here. Zach epitomized that 2007 team as a guy that had more game than he really knew, and he just needed someone to kick him in the tires a bit and get him to believe in himself. I think we all know what great player Zach was, and he was definitely our team leader. It really is an honor to be with you here tonight. I know the evening's growing long, so I'll keep it short. I want to thank the NCGA and the NCGA Board of Directors for this honor. I've been lucky to travel the globe, both in coaching and playing, and I guarantee you there's not a better, well-run, more efficient, more philanthropic organization than the NCGA. So thank you for this honor. It's really an honor. I just want to say congratulations to my fellow inductees and fellow Hall of Fame members. I took a minute to take a look at the classes prior to this year's. You start mentioning names like Spaeth and Tatum and Venturi and Palmer and Uberoth and Cockrell and Maltby and Miller and now Gale, Desimone, and Goodwin. And it's awful humbling to be put in that group. I think that the only thing that comes to mind, especially being late in the night, is to tell you a quick story about our old teammate Tiger Woods. In 2005, I was lucky to sneak into the U.S. Open as the first alternate qualifier 3 days before the event at Pinehurst. I get a call from Tom Meeks on a Thursday. He said, "Conrad, I've got a great news for you, but I'm wondering if you can get back to Pinehurst in time for the tournament because you just got in." And I tried for 13 years to try and qualify for the U.S. Open. And so after hanging up the phone, hooting and hollering a bit, dancing the jig, I booked a ticket straight to Pinehurst. Getting in late on Sunday night, I was as nervous as a cat. I didn't know where I was going, where I was, who I was going to see, how it was all going to go down. But I had the courage to text my old buddy Tiger. And I said, "Look, I'd love to practice round. I know you're in full practice mode, but I'd love to join up with you on Monday for a practice round." Quickly, the text shot back, "Be at the first tee at first light.
Don't be late. So for me, having just come off our first run to the NCGA with Zach at the helm as our captain, I hadn't practiced at all. I slept a couple restless hours that night, the Holly Inn in Pinehurst. Got there at dark. It wasn't first light, it was dark. Two balls of shag bags, a hot, humid North Carolina morning. My shirt untucked, my visor crooked, my duck hooks keep coming out of the gun. And I'm trying to ask myself, how am I possibly going to go to the first tee with Tiger Woods? It's a true story. The crowd swells, the sun comes over the horizon. He looks like he just shot a commercial. The crease in his slacks is perfect. He's already worked out. He turns to Fluff and says, "Give me 3 balls, Fluff." He drops the first one down on the turf. I mean, I'm taking divots the size of my head. He's got sand wedge in his hands. The first ball, it's a true story. First ball hits the flag at 100 yards. The second ball with a 5-iron, straight as a BB over the 200-yard marker. The third ball with a driver off the back fence at Pinehurst. And in the meantime, I'm trying to look for, any sort of game, and he turns to me and says, "You ready to go?" I said, "I guess so. Let's go." So I'm scrambling behind him like a puppy dog. We stride under the bleachers. Noda can appreciate this, having been there more than anyone. We enter the first tee box complex, 3,000 people waiting for Tiger Woods at 6:45 in the morning on a Monday to watch him hit the first tee shot at the U.S. Open. And they're all asking themselves, you can hear the murmurs, who is this guy? What's the story on this guy? I didn't have a drop of spit in my mouth. My palms were sweaty. I'm looking at the left gallery rope. You talk about coach teaching visualization. I was looking left. But thank God at that moment, Tiger Woods came up to me. He grabbed me by the shirt collar and he said, "Listen, buddy, all these people up here, they're here to watch me. They're not here to watch you, so there's no reason to be nervous." So with that, I think it's very apropos at this time of night, and the people that were in front of me, and the fact that I'm, as hopefully we're correct, that this journey is just beginning for Stanford Golf, that I'll keep it short. But I thought of that story, and it definitely is important to know your place in this game. I also want to take a quick mention to talk to the fellow inductees. Coach Gale, Noda stole my thunder a little bit. It's a true story. He didn't know, but the last time I saw Coach Gale, we were in the hotel lobby in Tokyo, and he was wondering if his girls were going to make curfew and make the bus the next morning. I think that same night's the same night that Noda woke up on a park bench with only a business card in his pocket to the hotel to get home. And I'll leave it at that. But I learned from you, Coach, that you got to let them have fun once in a while, and that's a really good mantra for coaching. You got to let them loose once in a while. Coach Desimone, what can I say? You've been a mentor, a friend, a competitor. The run that you've put together over the last few years has been absolutely astounding. And I know we come to work every day trying to figure out how to beat the Bears, and it's a tough job, tough task at hand. But I tell you, you've taught us a lot of things. You're well respected. You're a legend in our game. But I do have to tell you that I've learned that it's always important to be prepared. Let me just paint the picture real quickly. Coach Desimone rolls up in his golf cart. He's got Gatorades. He's got muffins. He's got granola bars. He's got rain suits, umbrellas, and he has a pair of binoculars that looks like he's going on an African safari tomorrow. So Des, I just appreciate those lessons you've taught me along the way. It's all but short of that horn that pulls into the construction site with the taco trucks. The food is here. Desimone's Delights. Coach Goodwin, Wally, as we all like to say, that guy changed my life. And I've got more funny stories, and I don't want to run any longer, but this guy, Wally Goodwin, I owe a lot to. And I think the game of golf brings that out in all of us. We look back in our experiences, and we know that people have changed our path. And that guy gave me a chance as a walk-on from the Midwest, small-town guy. You look at Tiger and what he had done in the game of amateur golf. I didn't even know what the NCGA Tour was. Stanford was a dream only when I got there. I remember trying to apply to Stanford, and my guidance counselor asked me, well, why would you want to apply to a school in the Ivy League? And that's the scope of our hometown. And so to be here in front of you tonight to accept this award is really, truly an honor, and I owe a lot of it to Coach. And my path to coaching was kind of similar, kind of a road less traveled. I got a call one night, and sitting in a hotel room playing the nationwide tour from our athletic director, Ted Leland, asking me if I'd put my name in the hat for consideration to be the coach at Stanford. I didn't know what the call was. I thought it was a prank from one of my buddies, but I decided to head back west, and I fell back in love with Stanford, and I realized that it was a place that I could see myself. And all I've tried to do in the 10 years that I've been there is take the stuff that I've picked up from guys like Noda, guys that I've coached, Tiger Woods, those type of people, and put them in action every day. I remember Ted Leland saying to me the day that he gave me the job, I want you to come to me with answers, not questions, Conrad. And I think some of you have met Ted Leland along the way, and he's one of the all-time greats. I owe him that. I'd be remiss if I didn't recognize a few of the people in the crowd tonight, some of my former guys, probably Stanford Golf's, other than Tiger, all-time greatest players. Rob Gruby, 4-time All-Americans here tonight. Thanks, Rob. He was the heart and soul of that team in 2007. Kyle Gentry's here. Kyle was actually on the search committee along with Mark Soltow. I bought these guys an extra glass of wine tonight, but Kyle Gentry was one of the senior leaders on that team that when I took over, and he could have made my life really a lot harder than it was. And so, Kyle, thanks for all you've given back to the program. Salty, what more do we need to say? You are a legend. We get to see Mark a lot on the Stanford campus now, and he's really given a lot back to our program, and so, Mark, you need to be recognized. So, Mark, congratulations. Finally, the reason why I'm really here is that 2007 team. As Zach mentioned, in 2001, or they hadn't won a tournament since 2001. I took the job in 2004, and we were getting better. We were getting better, and we were every year we make a little bit step forward. And in 2007, we sat down and we asked ourselves, what do we want to do this year? And we realized that it was kind of a tough equation if we said we wanted to win a championship when we couldn't win the next event ahead of us. So our goal was to win the next tournament. We went off to Minnesota, and Zach Miller on his third shot on a par 4, the last hole, hits it out of a pine tree, somehow on the green, and makes a putt, and we win by 1 or 2 shots. And that started this run of 7 wins, culminating in the national championship at the Golden Horseshoe in West Virginia. We had 5 All-Americans that year, and I tell you, Zach Miller, Rob Gruby, Matt Savage, Joseph Bramlett, Jordan Cox, Daniel Lim, some of those names sound familiar if you've been at all around the NCGA, and those are the products, as Coach Des mentioned, of this great organization. So finally, in closing, I know that the night is long. I owe a few huge thank yous. My wife Jennifer's here with me. Our little girls, we have 3 little girls at home. They're at home with the babysitter. But Jennifer, thank you for all you do and for all the support you give me. And all of this is as much about you as it is me. Thank you. My mom and dad are here. They introduced me to the game. My dad still somehow tries to finagle a bet or two and has a way of beating me in the last hole. But thanks, Mom and Dad, for all that you've done and supporting me in golf. It's really a special thing. Thank you so much. How about Rich Harris tonight? Rich, I wish I was as gifted and as eloquent as you are, but your cause and your support of our program, you know, few people know this, but Rich was a 2-time All-American at Stanford, so his roots run deep in this area. And so thank you, Rich, for all that you've done for our program. And congratulations on your award. Bob Ireland's here, a guy that always comes in. We all love Bob. Bob turns up for everything, and he's a whale of a player. Played on some great teams at Stanford. So thanks, Bob. Chuck Van Ling's here, former NCGA member, foundation member. Thank you, Chuck, for all that you do for our program. Appreciate that. And finally, I've made a lot of new friends in golf, and I think that the next time we'll be here, we'll be celebrating, hopefully, our Stanford Women's National Championship. We've got a great young coach. She's kind of got her on both sides of the fence because she's a Cal All-American, but Ann Walker's here and her husband, Chris, and she's just doing a whale of a job, and Stanford women's golf is on the rise. So thanks for being here, Ann. Appreciate it. Last but not least, I just want to close and say thank you again to the NCGA. This is a special honor, a wonderful night. It's really a celebration of people that give back to golf and have that common bond. And as Coach Goodwin said in his honor, and if you get his Christmas card, you know what I mean, he'd say, may the good Lord take a liking to you. So have a wonderful night. Thank you.
All right, very nice, very nice. Well, that wraps up the 55th annual, and wonderful now to have the golf writers and the NCGA involved in this great night. Wonderful night for all the inductees and the honorees for the golf writers, and certainly for all of you, especially the number of you that have stuck around tonight. We appreciate it very much. We've asked Traps to stay open a little later tonight. Mitch, good job setting the table tonight, and we'll see you all next year or on the golf course. Thanks very much. Be careful getting home.